All right guys, welcome back to the Other Craftsmanship. My name is Dustin, and today in the shop we're going to be making an axe mask. I made this little camp hatchet recently. I modified it from a half hatchet similar to this one, also known as a rigger's hatchet. These are really common here on the East Coast. I can pick them up for a couple bucks at yard sales usually, and I really enjoy doing some modifications to them. So this one, you can see I cut away where the nail puller was, and I also shortened the hammer pole. Just made it a little bit more front heavy and works really well as a small hatchet for around the camp. But I need to make a mask for it. So today I'm going to be making a leather mask similar to this one. This has a snap and it's stitched across the front. The one I'm going to make today is just going to have 4 rivets across the front. It's also going to have a snap. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to trace the template of our mask. So just trace the entire axe. All right, then we're going to flip it over across its spine. Just want to count a little bit for the width of the spine. Then we'll just trace it opposite because we're going to be making the sheath, the mask is going to fold over the top and be riveted across the front. So the last thing I'm going to want to take into account is the top of the sheath, where it comes across the top of the axe, how far back, and then the shape of it. So the front has this nice curve that follows the bit down to the bottom. So instead of having just a straight line here, I like to kind of also have a curve. So I try to do something like this that will then mimic the line of the curve in the bit. So this will come back, and the same thing with the leather. This part's going to come out from behind and wrap around. So then this whole piece will fold up and snap into place here. So you just want to be mindful about what side of the leather you're working with. So I always work and draw on the inside, which is the rough side of the leather, so that way my smooth side is on the outside. But you also want to be mindful of which way you're putting your template down. So this template needs to fold, so that way the inside is where I drew the line. So I'm just making sure this drawn lines are on the facing up, so that way it's on the right side of the leather. If you flipped it the wrong way, it wouldn't be a huge difference. It would just mean that my snap would be on the opposite side, and I like to have them on the side that faces you when you're holding it in your right hand. Pretty good. You can see I have enough room in front of the blade to do my rivets. It'll come down and this will come up and snap here. I got plenty of room. We're going to go ahead and clean up these edges now. So we have the bottom edge, the back, and around the snap. These edges are they're not going to change, so I'm going to go ahead and clean them up and finish them now on the sander. All right, so I went ahead and cleaned up all the edges, gave a chamfer on the front edge and the back. We'll just make it easier to burnish these edges after I dye the leather. I want some dye to be on the inside since you're going to be able to see the inside of the sheath, and if I tried to dye it after I glued and riveted the front, then it would be harder to get the dye inside where I want it, so I'm going to dye it while it's still flat. So this front edge is going to be glued across and riveted, so I'm not worried about, wasting my dye on an area that's not going to be seen. And then while it's still wet with the dye, I'll grab my burnisher and burnish those edges. So this is just a wooden burnisher, and you just apply pressure, go back and forth, and you'll see it starts to burnish and seal those fibers of leather together to create a nice, smooth, finished edge. It's amazing how quick it changes, and just with some pressure and speed, you get this like really beautiful, shiny edge. Just makes such a nice look, a nice finished feel to your leather products. So I'm just getting basically just the part that I need to mold wet. So this is just the part that it's going to wrap around the top of the axe, especially right in the front, because I want this to really tighten down nicely on the front of it. I'll hit the inside too. All right. Just go ahead and put the axe in, leaving the 1/2 inch or so, and just push it down nice and tight and pinch all the way across the top. So it's just molding the leather to the shape of the top of the axe. All right, so I'm just applying contact cement, and with this you want to apply a coat to both sides of your surface, both surfaces. And we'll put a coat on, we'll let it dry, and then we'll put a second coat. Once both of your sides are dry, you just add in another coat over to one side, and we're gonna let that get tacky. Once that's tacky, then we'll push both sides together, and you get a nice secure bond. There we go. So we'll go ahead and let that sit up just for like another minute or two, and we'll clean up this edge, and then we'll do our rivets. Okay, so that's gonna be one on that corner. And then the second one, I want to figure out same space, approximately from the front, the top. See, that one's a little long, so we'll make it a little bit shorter. Try again. There. And that's right on it. So I have, these are single cap rivets, which means they have a cap on the front and not on the back. So it has just the back end of the rivet in the front with the cap. These are specifically long shank ones which go through this leather really well. And I have a little anvil, which is convex on one side for double cap rivets and flat on the other side. So we're going to go ahead and set this on here and use the set with also with the convex edge, and we'll just go ahead and hammer that home. Alright, so that pinched it really nice and tight. So we'll go ahead and set up the next one. I just have my hole. I'm going to mark my second hole directly through so I know that they'll both line up. So the snap comes in 4 parts. You have a post on the back with your male portion of your snap, and then you have a cap for the front, which attaches to your female portion. So you have all 4 parts. So we're going to go ahead and do the snap on the front first. So we're going to go ahead and put a nice coating of neat's foil on. Now that everything is burnished and cleaned. Carnauba is a type of wax, and this cream has it's a vehicle for the wax. So go ahead and put it on with a slightly damp cloth, which I have. And then we'll let it set up for just a minute. And then we'll come back in with a nice soft clean cloth and buff it up, and it'll give us a nice sheen at the end. All right. This turned out great, guys. I'm really happy with the way this mask turned out. Just beautiful, this dark stain, and the brass rivets just looks really nice. It was a really easy project. Did not take very long, and it's just something that's really important for you to make for your tool. Something that if you have an axe or you have a hatchet, take the time and make yourself a mask. It just works really well, really beautiful, and nice and tight and snug. and it's going to do its job really well, which is to protect the bit from getting damaged after you've spent time sharpening, getting really nice and, you know, just a razor sharp edge that you're excited to get out into the woods and use. You get out there and you traveled, and by the time you get there, if it's not covered up or not cleaned up, you might get some nicks in it, or you drop it on the ground and get a nick in it. This will protect that from happening. It just works really well, and it also will protect you from cutting yourself. That's the last thing you want to do. Again, you get out and you're ready to go camping and get into the shop, and then all of a sudden you don't have a mask on, and you cut your hand open, you got to go. So we hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and give us that thumbs up, and please subscribe to our channel. Also follow us on Instagram. I'd like to put up pictures of other projects I'm doing that aren't necessarily being filmed. And also you get little sneak peeks of our new videos coming up. So we hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you guys on the next one.